Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat like change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Today's webinar goal is a couple of different things. First, we'll explain the structure for the Amazon advertising campaign in order to scale profitably. Second is what kind of keywords and targeting tactic you can use for your brand, either in the toys and game space. And also, we'll also talk about a couple of the potential mistakes that you can avoid when you're doing advertising on an Amazon platform. And we'll also share some case study of different toys and game brand that we have managed and how some of the tactics that our team has been trying to gain more momentum and get more traction for them as well. Today's agenda, obviously, we'll talk about a lot of the foundation first. I know some people is pretty new to Amazon advertising. Some people have been doing it for a few years. So a lot of it might be a review. But also we'll be talking about the campaigns and also optimization and targeting tactic. Also sharing some of the real world example. Then we'll open up for Q&A at the end of the webinar. A little bit about me again. So my name is Jason Shea and also has been a toy entrepreneur myself since 2016. The reason how I got into the toy space or the e-commerce space altogether is actually because of my son. For those of you that also listen to my podcast, I shared that before on the podcast as well. But our son was diagnosed with autism and ADHD while we were living in Japan in 2013. Unfortunately, Japan as a country is a very conservative country. So when it comes to invisible disability like autism, it was really hard to find help and resources and therapy opportunity for our son. Even so, we live in Tokyo, which is one of the largest metropolitan area in the world, but we could only find 2 therapy centers to take our son to in the entire metropolitan area in Tokyo back then. So we decided to move to the state in 2015, but only to find out the medical insurance system here in the US is horrible. It doesn't pay for any of the therapy that we needed for our son. And our son back then required like 15 hours a week of all the different type of therapy. And often it's $100 an hour out of our own pocket, and that can easily accommodate to be $6,000 a month of medical expenses. So that's why I started my own company toward the end of 2016, and the company was officially born in 2017 on top of my corporate career. So I was like a weekend entrepreneur for the first couple of years. And then over the years, I was able to slowly grow my toys and game businesses. And then about 3 years ago, in early 2022, I decided to go and become a full-time toy entrepreneur instead. And around the same times, I founded the second company, which is Toy Launch. Toy Launch is our digital marketing company. We specialize in doing digital marketing for toys and game brands. We currently manage about 30 different toys and game brands, mostly on Amazon. We also have a few clients. We do external marketing like Meta ads, or Google ads, email marketing, etc. for some of our clients. But all in all, we are 100% committed in toys and game industry. And that is the industry we exclusively work with right now. And besides the 2 companies, I also run a podcast called Toy Business Unboxed Podcast, which we interview entrepreneur and business owner within the toys and game space to share what is working and not working in the industry. And I also manage a small foundation called Sensory Inclusive Classroom Foundation, which we donate some of our toys and games to local school and local community here in Phoenix. I also run a local meetup group called Phoenix Online Seller as well. Today's webinar, first of all, before we dive into today's webinar topic about Amazon advertising, I want to first explain about 3 major principles for your success, e-commerce marketing or toys and game marketing, especially on Amazon and off Amazon. There's 3 major principles that you want to be aware of. First is conversion optimization. For Amazon listing, you can be a wizard at advertising, but if your listing is not fully optimized, none of the ads will work. So in today's webinar, I'm also going to touch a little bit about listing optimizations. I have done a separate webinar just on like SEOs and Amazon SEO and listing optimization in the past. But for today's discussion, I think it's also very important to touch on that just a little bit because that is the foundation. Before you start running advertising, you want to make sure all the listings is fully optimized. And there's about 8 different components that you want to optimize for your Amazon product detail page I will also touch a little bit on the A component as well. That's mission critical. Before you start running ads, you want to take a look at what are some of the components that you could spend more time on optimizing. Then you will see a better result on your advertising and better result on your Amazon campaign as a whole. The second part is profit optimization. One of the biggest lever we can pull on the Amazon platform to make sure our brand is profitable is definitely advertising. That's different numbers you want to keep an eye out on a regular basis. For example, your ACoS, advertising cost of sales, your tacos, total advertising cost of sales, etc. Those are the few different metrics you want to also keep in mind. And also you want to keep in mind of your SKU profitability, especially when you're running advertising for a big catalog. You might have 10, 20, or 30 SKU in your catalog. Each of the product, their profit margin will be different. So the way that you want to set up the ads might be also a little bit different, depends on how much margin you have. And the more margin you have for that particular product, that means you can be a little bit more aggressive on advertising. So one of the things that you also want to calculate is you want to know exactly what is your break-even ACoS for each of your SKU inside your catalog that you manage. The last but not least is also ongoing optimization. Amazon advertising, Amazon SEO, and even listing optimization is not a set and forget. It's really you set it once and you need to read the iterations on an ongoing basis. For advertising, usually our team do like the weekly or sometimes twice a week optimization and bid adjustments, keyword adjustments. Those are all part of our weekly routines that we're doing on all the accounts that we manage. There's also SEO optimization you can do on a monthly basis to switch or adding or removing keywords in your listing as well. So those are all part of ongoing optimization that you want to be aware of. Then I want to talk about why advertising is so essential for toys and game brands. Advertising for Amazon, at least. Amazon is a very unique platform. It's very different than running ads, let's just say on Meta, because Meta, there's no organic rank. There's no organic keywords. It's all about like how well does your ad get shared amongst the Facebook or Instagram user. But for Amazon, there's a component that is organic, means people can also find your listing through organic search if you are getting rank and index for certain keyword. That's why Amazon advertising is a little bit unique because it's not 100% pay. Part of your revenue is also coming from organic traffic. That's why you also want to monitor your organic revenue versus your paid revenue in your entire brand. How much of your revenue isn't coming from organic? Usually a good benchmark is at least 50% of your revenue should be coming from organic sales and the other half should be coming from advertising. And of course, it depends on the stage of the brand. Initially, when you're like just starting and launching a new product, maybe your organic revenue will be fairly low because you don't have any keyword ranking or you don't have any keyword juice in the Amazon algorithm just yet. So that's another thing you want to keep an eye out on a regular basis is to monitor where is your keyword currently being ranked. Is it improving? Is it declining? If so, what is the reason behind it? What are some of the advertising you can also do to help you with your organic rank on Amazon? That's a very interesting dynamic that Amazon have when you're doing other advertising platform that it doesn't have this kind of component. Obviously, the more organic rank will lead to more sales and more reviews. And at the end, it's also going to lead to higher conversion rate for your brand. Advertising with PPC, pay-per-click, is one of the fastest way for you to get on page one of the search result for the keyword that you want to get in front of. Also, for toys and game products, usually we're targeting parents, grandparents, or a lot of people that's like buying for gift, especially during the holiday season. That's where the Amazon advertising can get very competitive and very expensive. And also remember that we're not just selling toys and games, we're also selling a memory to the family, to the loved one that they are buying it for their kids or their loved one. That's something I quickly touch on before we go into some of the strategy and the tactics. What makes the toys and game shopper unique on Amazon is over 44% of all the toys and game shoppers actually research on Amazon first before they buy anything. Like I do sometimes, what my wife will also do this sometimes, is we could be in Target or in a retail store. Before we buy is we pull out the product on Amazon and see the review first to see if this product is good or not before we even make that purchase. And that is also very common for the toys and game shopper. Second is some of the purchase on Amazon, they are 3 times more likely to be gift because that's just like the nature of Amazon because you can get the product so fast You can buy it on your Amazon store and just get it in 1 or 2 days to the people that you're giving to. So a lot of people is looking for gifts, especially during the holiday season on Amazon. And over 70% of all US toys and games sales happen in Q4. For those of you that's already in the industry for a few years, that is very common for the toys and game industry because we are a very Q4 focused or Q4 heavy industry. So that means all the things we're doing from Q1 to Q3 is all gearing toward Q4 because 70% of the sales happen in Q4. A lot of the optimization for advertising, a lot of testing we're doing right now. This is a good time to test because the traffic is not as crazy compared to the November and December season. So if you want to test new campaign, new keyword, new product targeting, the best time to test is like during the off season. You don't want to test a lot of the new target during peak season because you'll be wasting a lot of the ad budget if you want to test it in Q4. I usually recommend to do a lot of those testing during the off seasons. When the peak season comes, you know exactly what is the keyword that has been working for your brand historically. What are some of the product targeting has been working for your brand historically. So you know exactly how to scale those ads instead of still try to experiment with new keywords in the Q4 season. And also, fun fact, over 8 million toys during the single 48-hour Prime event last year as well. So that's a lot of toys that Amazon is moving to their platform. I know some of you that might be listening or watching the replay, you haven't started running any advertising on Amazon yet. There's a few things that you want to do before you even start running ads and paying Amazon money. First is you want to do a deep comparator research for what are some of your top 10 competitors on Amazon. Using the tool, like you can use Helium 10 or you can use like Data Dive. That's another tool we use. Some people use Jungle Scout, but the one we use internally, we use Helium 10 and Data Dive when we're doing some of those keyword research. By doing that deep competitor research, want to identify how much is your competitor selling the product for, how much review they have, how much sales velocity do they have. And based on some of those data, you want to build your own master keyword list because by using some of those third-party tools, you can also identify what are some of the keywords that your competitor is currently being ranked on and they are getting sales from. You want to build a master keyword list. I will also show you an example of what it might look like. That master keyword list is going to be your foundation when you're running advertising on Amazon. And that master keyword list should be also updated on a monthly basis as well. So you want to use the master keyword list for listing optimization, for search engine optimization, and also for advertising. That list of keyword is super, super important before you even start setting up the campaign. After you have the master keyword list, different tool, you can also see what are some of the potential keyword gap. And I'll also explain a little bit on how to find it. What I mean by keyword gap is there is some keyword, let's just say you find 10 competitors that's really close to your product. Out of the 10 competitors, only one competitor is being ranked on one particular keyword. No one else is, but he's getting some sales from that particular keyword. That could be a potential keyword gap because a lot of other competitors, they are not using that particular keyword phrase or keywords in their listing yet. That's one way that you can identify potential gap inside your master keyword list and see if you want to double down on the keyword by creating like an exact match keyword campaign. That would be one of the strategies we suggest to try to get a higher rank and higher visibility for the keyword that you're trying to go after. Then last but not least, like I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure you optimize your listing first before you run in the ads. You want to make your listing fully optimized for clicks and also for conversion. The next thing I want to show you is kind of just a quick process on how do you build your own master keyword list. Obviously, you need to use a C product or C ASIN, also stand for Amazon Standard Identification Numbers. Once you find the C ASIN, ideally, you want to use your product as a C ASIN when you're doing this research. But if your product is not on Amazon yet, you can find the closest product to yours as a base. That base ASIN or the base product, you want to find at least top 5 to 10 odd product that's most similar to your product. Then you can use the software like I mentioned earlier, like Helium 10 or Data Dive to find keywords. And this is like what a master keyword might look like. It depends on the tool you're using. Each tool look a little bit differently. But this particular screenshot I'm doing right now, this is using Data Dive. As you can see, you have a master keyword list with all the keywords and all the different competitors. And out of these keywords, where are they ranking on? For example, I know this is really small. One of the keywords is actually sensory maze. This is one of the fidget toys that we sell. And then you can see the search volume here is 746. This is monthly search volume. And then you can see some of our competitors ranking a lot higher than us. While our ranking for that particular keyword currently is at 45, for example. So that could be something we might need to spend more time and like do more optimization on, or do more aggressive advertising on this to see if we can get rank a little bit better for this particular keyword. But this is an example of the initial exercise that you want to put together, which is putting together your own master keyword list for your own product before you start running advertising and try to identify potential gap and potential keyword to add to your advertising campaigns as well. The next thing I want to briefly touch on, like I mentioned earlier, is before you run advertising, you want to make sure your listing is fully optimized. And there's about a core component when you are doing optimization for Amazon product detail page. First is product title. Product title is one of the most important fields when you come to SEOs and when you come to like keyword indexing and ranking. The second field that you want to also consider is going to be bullet point. For the bullet point, you want to make sure that you have minimum of 5 bullet points. You have enough keyword in the bullet point. One of the common mistakes or common things I get, like that people ask is like, how long should my bullet point be? And obviously you want to make it as long as you can. And you want to put in as many keywords as you can, because you also want to understand that majority of the Amazon shopper, they do not read the bullet point. They only read through the images. So the bullet point, I would say majority of the time is really designed for search engine more for the buyers, because majority of the buyers, or less than 20% of them, actually read the bullet point. So that's why it's very important to have the keyword fully optimized in the bullet sessions. I might also do a future webinar just on Amazon SEO, because there's so many different things that you want to watch out for SEO. The third component is images. For your product images, you want to make sure you have infographic. You want to make sure it's very clear on the type of toys or games that you are selling, like what is the age group, how long is the play times, how many players that requires, and what are some of the unique benefit or the unique feature of your particular product. You want to highlight that in the image itself really quickly to make sure you can convince the potential buyer and turn them into a customer. The fourth component is video. Video is also a very important component for Amazon. For the video, you not only can use the video in your Amazon product listing, you can also run video ad with the Amazon advertising platform, which I will explain in today's webinar as well. Then the fifth component is brand story. If your brand is registered with Amazon brand registry, there is an element that you can also embed or you can add to your product detail page. It's called the brand story, which will show like your background information, etc. And then the next component is A+ content. A+ content is like where you put it into your descriptions. Let me also pull up one of the listing as an example and walk you through some of the components in action. So you kind of see what are all the components look like on Amazon. So when you're doing optimization, you know exactly what I meant by the A components. This is actually one of our clients. So as you can see, all the different components, including the titles, you want to make sure the title is long enough and have all the different keyword in it, like I mentioned earlier. And then the next component is obviously the bullet point. So for the bullet point, you want to also make sure each of the bullet point is long enough to have enough keywords. And you can also use a tool in Helium 10, which it will have like a Chrome extension. With their Chrome extension, it's going to give you a score. Let me run my software really quick. And okay, so it's going to show you a listing health score, and kind of look like this. So this is just a high level health score for the listing you are creating. Obviously, you want to make sure your listing health score is 10 out of 10. What the software is analyzing is some of the best practice when you are doing listing optimization. Is your title long enough? Does it have at least 150 characters? Do you at least have 5 bullet points? Do you have enhanced brand content or EPC in your description? Do you have enough reviews and images, etc.? So by following some of the best practices for titles, bullet points, images, videos, and then let me show you the brand story that I mentioned earlier. This is what an example of what a brand story might look like for your Amazon's product. So the brand story is kind of like a banner element that you can add to your product. Usually in this portion, we'll add some of the founders' stories and why they created the toys and games. And also you want to include additional testimonial. That's also a really good place to add testimonial. That could also help with the conversion rate. Then you go to the product description portion, or we call it A+ content, or enhanced brand content is the same thing. But this is a layout that you also want to make sure you have a designer on your team to do the design for the logos, banners. Usually for our design, we like to use a 4x4 grid design. Means we have 4 images followed by 4 icons. and we talk about 4 different benefit and 4 different feature of the product. We have tested a lot of different layout over the year. We find this layout has been converting the best. And also this layout gives us a lot of room for adding additional keyword in our A+ content as well. Then we usually will include 2 more banners. One banner talk about how the games or the toys work. And then it depends on the product, obviously. We might design it a little bit differently. But then you can also showcase, if you have a card game, you can also showcase what is all the card that the customer can get. So this is an example of the design, and this is the 6th component. And there's 2 more components on Amazon that you also want to be aware of. There's also a component called alt text. So I have a special tool that I can show this. So as you can see, every single images that you include in A+ content have an alt text field. In the alt text field, you want to make sure you also maximize this particular field. This is great for SEOs on the Amazon platform. So you want to include as many keywords you can. Sometimes when I'm doing the listing audit for the people I'm talking to, this is a field that people often forget altogether. They didn't even know this field existed. So you want to make sure you're optimizing the alt text as well when you're designing this particular component. So that is all the different components that I mentioned so far. And the last component is actually a backend search term that comes with when you are setting up the inventory in your Amazon Seller Central account. Inside your backend listing, there's another backend search that you want to make sure you maximize the keyword in that as well. So those are some of the best practices of the thing you want to look out for when you're doing listing optimization. You can also see how well your listing is by looking at some of the conversion rate data. And obviously you want to slowly improve your listing over time. For Amazon, you can also do Amazon Experiment, which is an Amazon A/B testing tool, testing of different titles with different bullet points with different images. So here are just some additional example of what an optimized Amazon listing might look like with the images here. Usually you want to have 1 hero images followed by 5 secondary images, then all the EPC for the description. And here's more example. This is another arts and craft brand that we work with. This is what the image look like and what the EPC will look like. The other thing you also want to be aware of is the Amazon product launch cycle. It depends on if you are brand new on Amazon, you probably is in the launch phase. There's 3 different phases when you are doing Amazon product launch. There's a launch phase, there's a growth phase, and also there's a profitability phase. During the launch phase is usually the first 30 days. That's the time that you want to be a little bit more aggressive or testing a lot of different keywords initially during the first 30 days. For best advertising practices during the first 30 days, you want to the most relevant and the keyword that have the highest search volume. By doing the research I shared earlier to come up with your master keyword list, then you want to start setting up campaign. Especially you can set up exact match targeting, which I will also explain the differences between exact, phrase, and broad. Then you also can start targeting some of the similar competitors when you're starting out the new campaign as well. You want to define what exactly is your target ACoS during this phase. By looking at your profitability, you want to see how much margin you have and do the calculation of your break-even ACoS. So when you're doing advertising, you know how much you can spend. Usually during the first months, I recommend to be a little bit aggressive to make sure you can rank for the keyword you're ranking for by being a little bit more aggressive on advertising. And obviously you also want to get as much review as possible during the launch phase. And then you want to monitor and manage your wasted ad spend as well. There will be some keyword with target you're testing, but it doesn't generate any sales. Then you want to look at it on a weekly basis, and either you can decide to turn off the keyword altogether, or you can reduce the bid, or you can also play around with the placement modification when you're running the initial ad. And usually we'll suggest to run auto campaigns, and you can also set up a few keyword campaigns as well. Then the second phase, which is the growth phase, is usually in 2 and 3. In the months 2 and 3, this is where you want to monitor and ongoing managing your wasted ad spend, and also make sure you're adding additional target. You're adding additional exact keyword targeting and also additional ASIN targeting to long tail keywords. And also you want to make sure the keyword that you're currently using in your listing is converting as well. If you notice some of the keyword you're running advertising on, part of your master keyword list is not converting, it's time to review some of the keyword in the master keyword list and see if you want to swap or change some of the keyword because it's not converting on the advertising side. Then you can also start running some additional ads like sponsored display or even sponsored brand. I'll also explain what are the difference between sponsored product, sponsored brand, and sponsored display. Those are the 3 major ad type in the Amazon marketplace. then usually for most of the product that we manage, it takes about 3 to 4 months to really hit a profitability stage. Means your product is a lot more profitable. You're getting a lot more ranking. You're getting indexed by the Amazon system. So that's the typical cycle that a lot of the product will go through. If you do everything correctly and you do all the optimization correctly, you should be able to really scale up your brand after 3 to 4 months. It depends on the product a little bit, but this is typically what we see. Next, I want to kind of explain advertising campaign structure that you want to consider, especially if you're brand new to Amazon advertising, or if you're not brand new and you have been doing for a few years. That's also something you can revisit and see what kind of campaign structure you're currently doing right now. And obviously, you can segment a different campaign based on different like buyer intent, or you can also run a lot of different campaign types, and you can also create single keyword campaign. That's what SKW stand for, as single keyword campaigns. Before I talk about some of the campaign, let me explain the ad type. So like I mentioned, there's 3 major ad type in the Amazon advertising platform. There's sponsored product, sponsored brand, and sponsored display. So sponsored product usually made up for majority of the advertising on Amazon. It drives most of the sales, about 80%. And this is an example of what a sponsored product ads kind of look like. If you search for any kind of keyword on Amazon, majority of the result that you see on top of the search is mostly ads. I would say 50, 60%. Everything that you see a tiny sponsor on top, right next to the product listing images, those are ads. If you see a sponsor, it means those are ads. It's not an organic result. Amazon does such a good job on disguising the ads as a result. A lot of the Amazon shopper actually doesn't know they are clicking on the ad. They saw it's just organic like recommendation by Amazon. So that's why it worked really, really well for sponsored product ads. And the way you can use this particular ad type, you can use keyword targeting, or you can use product targeting using sponsored product. You can also use auto targeting as well, which I'll also explain. One of the, I guess, benefit or disadvantage for this particular ad type is there's no additional ad creative that you need to create. Amazon is using your listing itself as an ad. That's what it look like other listing. So you don't need to create another video. You don't need to create another images for sponsored product. It's just going to show up like a listing, but you just say sponsor on it. But that also means you don't have any creative control. That's why like the initial listing optimization is so important, because whatever you created as part of your listing optimization, that's what the potential customer is going to see. The next type of ad is sponsored brand. Sponsored brand usually made up for like 20, sometimes 30% of the account that we manage. And for sponsored brand, there's 2 major types. There is a banner, like an image type, or you can also turn it into a slideshow nowadays, or you can also run a video. It's called sponsored brand video as well. Those are the 2 major kind of ad creative you can use for the sponsored brand placement. So as you can see, you can also include a logo here. You have a product in the middle, then you can do a videos, or you can do like images on the side. And for sponsored brand, you can also target different keywords or target different product as well when you're doing sponsored brand advertising. So usually sponsored brand is great for like top of the search or for brand awareness. So if you have a keyword that you want to dominate, you want to show up everywhere for that keyword, you can run a sponsored brand ad with a banner, with a video on top, followed by sponsored product ads that's also targeting the same keywords. So people will see your product multiple times throughout the search result. They'll see a video first, see one of the product listings. So that if you really want to dominate and really try to get higher rank for the keyword, we usually will do a combination of different ad type to make sure we can show up in multiple placement in the search result for that particular keyword. But however, sponsored brand ads usually also have a higher cost per click due to a limited amount of placement that Amazon have, because the banner take up so much space on the Amazon platform that's just simply not enough ad placement that Amazon can provide. So usually it's a little bit more expensive, and it also depends on how good your video is. Make sure you follow the best guideline when you're creating video ads for Amazon. You want to keep it under 60 seconds when you're running ads. Want to make sure you have fast transition, showing off toys in the game with the product that you're selling really quickly in the videos and showing some of the major benefit, and also want to make sure you have a big text overlay so people can also read what the product is about if they didn't turn on the sound when they are just scrolling through the videos. So those are the few things that you want to look out for when you're running sponsored brand ads. Then the last type is called sponsored display. This usually make up a really small percentage of the overall revenue, about 5 to 10%. This type of ads is great for remarketing, or you'll see those ads inside the product detail page next to the buy box or next to some of the review as well. You'll see like an image that says sponsor on it. And those are the sponsored display ads. Remarketing means people that have viewed your product but haven't bought, you can run a sponsored display ad to follow them around. So when they are shopping on Amazon, they will see your images showing up like some random places. When they're looking for other product, they will see your product again. It's kind of like a remarketing ads. And you can also do purchase remarketing, means people that have bought your product like a couple months ago, and you want to retarget them and see if they want to buy a second one. And then you can also utilize a sponsored display to do remarketing or either view remarketing or purchase remarketing. And there's a lot of other targeting options inside sponsored display as well. There's also contextual targeting you can also do. But for today's webinar, I'm just going to keep things on a high level and talk about the commonly used scenario. The most commonly used scenario is using it for remarketing. That's usually what most people use it for. And you can also test other strategy, obviously, for sponsored display. So next, I want to kind of quickly talk about segmenting your advertising by strategy. You can segment your advertising campaign into 4 high-level strategy when you're setting up your advertising campaigns in your Amazon account. First, you can run an auto campaign, means you are using the Amazon algorithm to target additional keywords or target additional product using Amazon auto campaign, which I'll also explain the 4 different type of auto campaign in the Amazon system. Then second type of strategy you can also consider is category campaigns, means you're targeting users using different keywords. And for the category campaigns, this is tied to the master keyword list research that we have mentioned earlier. By doing that research, you know exactly what are the keywords that you want to run when you're setting up category campaign strategies by targeting different keywords using exact match, phrase match, or broad match. And the third type of strategy also want to consider is a competitor strategy, means you're targeting user that's also searching for your competitor's brand or your competitor's product. The last strategy you can also consider when you're setting up a new account is going to be a branded campaign or branded strategy, means you're targeting user that's searching for the brand that you're promoting. For example, your Lego, and you want to target people that are searching for Lego, that you can also set up a branded campaign targeting anyone that's searching for the word Lego or when they're searching on Amazon. So those are like some of the foundational campaign you want to consider when you're starting out on the Amazon platform, that you want to make sure you have those 4 strategy in place. And let me kind of go a little bit deeper and talk about each of the advertising type as well. I know there's a few of you that you're already doing some of the advertising, so you know what I mean. But for someone that's new, it's very important to understand for Amazon auto targeting, there's 4 different types inside the auto targeting. There's close match, loose match, substitute, and also complement. Close match and loose match is targeting different product, even just like the name explains. The close match is targeting the closest related product. Loose match is Amazon is trying to target other product that's loosely related to the one you're selling. Then there's 2 more. That's substitute and complement. Substitute and complement are keyword targeting. That's part of the auto campaigns that Amazon platform is also going to find some additional keyword that people might be using to find product like yours. So it's like a substitute keyword. Or for the complement auto targeting, the Amazon system is trying to target customer that's viewing other product that could be complementary of yours. Those are the 4 different type of auto targeting. That's something to really look out for. So again, let me kind of rephrase. Close match and loose match is for the keywords. Substitute and complement is for the product targeting. So those are the 4 different auto targeting type that you can also set up on Amazon. And for a more advanced strategy, if you want to have more granular control, instead of having 4 different targeting group in one campaign, you can also set up individual targeting groups. So you can have one auto campaign that only run on the close match, and you have a separate auto campaign that only run loose match. Then you pretty much essentially, instead of having one campaign with 4 different targeting groups inside, you can have 4 different campaigns with one targeting group inside of each campaign. If you set it up that way, you actually have more control over each of the campaign. You can assign individual budget to each of the campaign, and you can also do bid optimization a little bit easier when you have it separately instead of combined. So that's another strategy that you can also consider. The next type that I would like to explain is going to be keyword targeting. For keyword targeting, there's also three major types. There's broad match, phrase match, and exact match. Exact match, just like the name explained, it is when you're searching for the word. For example, in this example I'm giving is fidget toys. If you're running an ad for fidget toys, when you set up an exact match, the type that you will show in front of is when people are typing in fidget toys, or if they type in fidget toys with S or without S, any kind of plural form that your ads will also show in front of for exact match campaign. So this is the most restricted match type. Then your ads will only appear when the customer is search term match exactly to the keyword you're providing in the campaign. The second type is a phrase match. The phrase match type provide more of a targeted approach. Your ads will appear when the customer search term contain your phrase. This example, I might be targeting fidget toys, but the customer is searching for best fidget toys for kids with ADHD. So that will actually still show up when you're running ads because it's a phrase match. Whereas broad match, Amazon sometimes will find other related words. For example, I would be putting fidget toys in the Amazon ad console, but it might also show up for the word sensory toys as well, because Amazon finds it's related to fidget toys. If you use a broad match, some of your ads will be showing up in front of even more keywords, some of the keywords that you might haven't think of they don't always contain the exact word that you put into the platform. So by using a different type of match type, you can identify additional keyword to target by using like broad match. Or if you want to have more control and you want to tell Amazon that I only want to show ads in front of people when they are searching for this exact phrase on Amazon, for example, fidget toy, then you want to use the exact match. Usually we'll use exact match if we want to get rank for a particular keyword, because then we can be a little bit more aggressive on the bidding when we're bidding for the exact match keyword on the Amazon advertising console. Then the next thing you will also want to understand is when you're doing auto campaign and manual campaign, it is very different. For auto campaign, you don't have control over exactly how much you want to bid for each of the keyword because it is auto campaign. You will use its algorithm and its AI and try to show your product in front of many different type of keywords. It could be showing up for fidget toy, you can show up for fidget toys for focus, for sensory toys, etc. And when you're bidding it, not all the keyword might be profitable. In that case, that's why there's could be some benefit to use manual campaigns instead. Because with a manual campaign, you'll have more control over each of the keywords that you want to target. For example, you notice you like fidget toys for focus for your product work the best. You have the lowest A cost and you want to bid a little bit higher on it. You want to bid $1.37 instead of 37 cents. So you have a lot more control when you are doing manual campaign. That's also something to understand when you're running advertising on Amazon of the dynamic of different campaign type and how's your bid going to affect the way your product is being shown in front of the potential Amazon customer. Next, this is a very basic concept. You just also want to understand the difference between a keyword and a search term. Keyword is the word that you put into the Amazon algorithm in their ad console. Search term is what the customer search for. So those are the differences, and depends on the match type. Sometimes you will show for more search term instead of the search term that you'll be showing in front of might be different than what you input. What is the keyword that you inputted? For example, if you are using broad match, that's the example I just gave earlier. For broad match, you will show in front of more search term, sometimes different search term than the one that you put into your campaign. So that's also something you want to understand, because when you're downloading report from Amazon, it's called the search term report. It's going to show you what Amazon customer actually search for to find your product. And that's not always the same as the keyword that you put into the system. That's a very important concept to understand as you're running advertising on Amazon. And that's also some more advanced targeting technique you can use when you are trying to identify additional target. One of the report I highly recommend is to use Amazon Brand Analytics. Inside the Amazon Brand Analytics, there's some advanced report that you can also use. For example, there's a search query performance report that you can use in Amazon Brand Analytics. And let me kind of switch screen and just show you an example of what it looks like. For those of you that already is using it, I'm pretty sure you're pretty familiar. When you log into your Amazon account, if you go into Search Analytics, then click on Search Query Performance, you can download this report. It's called Search Query Performance Report. With this report, Amazon's going to show you all the keywords data that Amazon think your product is relevant for. And this is another type of report you can use to identify potential keywords that you can use in advertising that you haven't used in the past. And this is one of the advanced targeting technique can use to identify more high converting keyword that Amazon is also recognizing, but you're not running any advertising for yet. And also you want to also target additional competitors' product. And it depends on the category you are in, that you can also do category targeting, try to target the product in the certain categories. And there's also different strategy as far as you can find some of the best seller in your catalog. For example, like there's some like card games, Card Against Humanity. That's one of the most popular card game here in US. If you want to capture some of their traffic, you can also target some of the top best seller on Amazon and see if you can capture some of the sales by targeting some of the best selling ASINs or best selling product in the category. But obviously, I'm not recommending you to target Card Against Humanity because I have so much review. When you're doing the ASIN targeting, you also want to look for some product that's close and very similar to you that have decent review, but not overwhelming amount of reviews. So you have a higher chance of like converting some of the potential customer to also look at your product and consider buying your product. So, but again, you just need to test. You need to test a lot of different like competitors' product and see which one that people would also consider when they're reviewing that product. So usually when we're setting up competitors' ASIN campaigns, usually we suggest don't include more than 10 ASIN in one campaign when you're setting up the campaign. So you give Amazon enough data, but not overwhelming. You don't want to provide too many ASIN in one campaign because what often happens is sometimes some ASIN doesn't have, some of the campaign doesn't get any impression when you have too many target in one campaign as well. And you can also cross target some adjacent niche. What I mean by that is, let's just say if you have a toys, but some of your toys is also related to, like, for example, homeschool parent that they might also be interested in the toys and games you provide. In that case, you can also run some targeted ads to target some of the other product in, for example, maybe stationery or some of the other product that homeschool parent will also buy. You can also try to do some of the experimental targeting by targeting some of the not people in the same category, but product that's related to your product category that your ideal customer might also purchase. That's also something that you can try or test in your advertising campaign. The next thing I want to talk about is really bid optimization and budget scaling. In order to scale on Amazon, you want to monitor your TACoS, total advertising cost of sales, really closely to make sure you have a healthy balance. Usually, the ideal TACoS that you want to be at is like under 20%. I'll say that will be ideal. And the way you calculate TACoS is you take your overall monthly ad spend. Let's just say you spend $1,000 on Amazon advertising. Then total revenue you generated on Amazon as a platform, if you generate $5,000, then your TACoS, total advertising cost of sales, is 20%. So that's a fairly simple math to, to illustrate that. The reason why you want to look at TACoS is because of the reason I mentioned earlier. For Amazon advertising, if you do everything correctly, a majority of your sales should be also coming from organic sales, not just from advertising sales. So by monitoring your TACoS, you can see how well are you growing as a brand as a whole. Are you overspending or are you underspending in Amazon ads? If your TACoS is way too low, let's just say your TACoS is under 10%, that means you're not spending enough in advertising. Then that also means your brand have a lot more room to be a little bit more aggressive on advertising and really try to scale up and take more market share on Amazon as well. And you can also consider implementing day parting strategy. Amazon does have a day parting tool like natively nowadays, but it's not really good. It's kind of hard to use. So we actually don't use that as a team. But if you don't have a third-party tool, you can experimenting with the native Amazon day parting tool as well. And for those of you that doesn't understand what day parting is, what day parting is you are changing the bid based on the hours and the day of the week. Well, let's just say Sunday at 11 p.m. No one's really shopping, I don't think. So that's the time you want to reduce the bid or just don't bid or turn off some of the bidding altogether. That's what day parting is doing. So day parting is you want to look at the high conversion times. It could be like usually in the mornings on the weekdays because a lot of people shop when they are in office apparently. And also you want to like change, you can increase the bid during the top performing hours and then reduce a bit for the hours that no one is really shopping on the platform. So that's another bid optimization technique that you can do to help with your overall performance. And then you also want to take a look at your placement bid modifier. The placement bid modifier in Amazon system means is you can modify your bid. As you say, you can do a placement modifier of 100%. If your bid is $1, now you can tell Amazon, say, oh, I want to bid up to $2 as long as you can show my ad on top of the search in the Amazon placement. So that is a placement modifier that you can also do in your campaign. Usually we use it if we want to be very aggressive on certain keyword for ranking purposes. For example, we want to rank the word fidget toys. We want to be very aggressive, and then we can add a placement modifier on the keyword and say, okay, I want to bid $1 and with a modifier of 200%. So you can up to $2 to try to get me to the top of search placement. So those are some of advanced bid optimization strategy you can also consider. And obviously the best practice is always reinvest in some of your best top performance inside your catalog, because just like the 80-20 rule, sometimes 20% of your product could be generating 80% of the revenue for your brand. So you want to really invest in those like top sellers and make sure they don't run out of stock, and make sure you are being aggressive on advertising for the top seller in your brand. That's why it's very important to monitor your SKU level profitabilities and make sure each of the SKU in your catalog is growing and also scaling nicely. And there's also creative optimization you want to do when you're running, for example, sponsor brand video. You can run this video for a couple of weeks and see how is your conversion rate, how is this sponsor brand video working. If it's not working, you might need to consider coming up with another video and do A/B testing in the Amazon advertising platform. And the other thing that you can also test is you can also test your main images. The main images have the highest impact when you come to having a higher click-through rate. So you can test different main images using Amazon experiment tool on Amazon platforms to see if you can increase the click-through rate on your ads by using a different main image. So those are some of the techniques you can also use. If you're using sponsored brand headline ads, for the sponsored brand headline ad come with an image, and you also come with a little bit like a mini short copywriting you can also write in your ads. So that's also something you can write a clear benefit driven copy in the ads itself when you're running sponsored brand headline ads as well. So those are some of the creative optimization you can also do when you're doing advertising on Amazon. The next thing I kind of explained it earlier already is about search term. And this is very, very important for Amazon advertising. You want to extract the winner from the auto campaign, because like I say, auto campaign, Amazon is going to show your product in front of a whole bunch of different keywords, a whole bunch of different products. And sometimes not all the targeting is going to work. For the one that's not working, that's what Kevin was talking about earlier about negation. What negation means is you're adding keyword that you don't want Amazon to show up in front of anymore. And usually you want to do keyword negation for your auto campaign and also for your broad campaign, because those campaigns, Amazon have the most freedom to show your product in front of a whole bunch of random stuff. So you want to have as many control as possible while still giving Amazon some freedom to discover some additional keyword for you. So a lot of people will also call the auto campaign as a discovery campaign, to discover new keyword or new target as well. So by like extracting the winners and also adding negation to the campaign, you will make the campaign a lot more efficient as well. You can also group the keyword by different intent, give related keyword together in one campaign. Or if your product is educational, you can group some of the educational keyword into one campaign as well. That's some of the method that you can also use. And also by regularly adding negation to your like auto and the broad campaign, it's going to really help you eliminate some of your wasted ad spend. That is going to eliminate some of the budget drain that you're seeing in your account. So having a regular practice to do that is also very important. And toward the end of the webinar, I'm also going to show you a list of the things you want to do on a weekly basis as a best practice. Next, obviously, reporting automation and efficiency is super important for your account. I know some of you might be still doing it manually in the ad console. Usually, we recommend to kind of experiment with the Amazon bulk file, but especially if you have a big catalog. Using a bulk file means it's just a giant spreadsheet you can download from Amazon. It's a lot more effective when you're doing listing or bid optimization for your entire account. If you haven't used bulk file, there's a lot of YouTube video you can watch to learn about how to use Amazon bulk file for bid management or bid optimization. I highly recommend it. It's just a lot more efficient to use a bulk file compared to like clicking around in the ad console all the times and try to identify which keyword is working and not working. So using the bulk file, you can make changes to all the campaigns to one upload as well. That'll make your reporting a lot more efficient and making when you're doing bid optimization and like overall advertising optimization, it's just a lot more streamlined once you learn how to use the tool. So obviously, like I mentioned earlier, you also want to monitor your organic rank versus your advertising spend, to want to see how much of the percentage of your overall account is coming from organic sales versus advertising sales. That's also a very important matrix to keep an eye out on. And you want to pull some of the report on a weekly basis as well. Like the certain report, that's some of the report you want to download on the weekly basis. You should also download like placement report on a weekly basis as well. That's some of the best practices. And as well, toward the end of the webinar, what I want to talk about while wrapping up is some of the best practice you want to do on a monthly and weekly basis. On the monthly basis, obviously on the daily basis, there's also a few things you want to do. On a daily basis, you just want to check to see if any of your campaign is running out of budget. That's one of the key things that you want to see. If some of the campaign is running out of budget, like in the middle of the day already, your budget for the campaign might be too low. Then that's where you want to check your campaign cap to increase your daily budget from the campaign, because you don't want the campaign to run out of budget in the middle of the day, because then it doesn't have enough time to really fully optimize the campaign. So that's something you should check for on the daily basis for to make sure the budget doesn't cap out. And you can also check to see how much you are spending on a daily basis in the platform. And then on the monthly basis, you should also conduct an comprehensive PPC audit every single month. Usually we do it on the 5th of the month, every single month for the previous months, because there's also some data delay with Amazon platform. So it's like a 48-hour delay minimum. So we want to make sure all the data is correct before we download all the report, before we do the in-depth audit. Then on a monthly basis, a few things you also want to do is keyword harvesting and ASIN harvesting. What I mean by those is like taking a look at your search term report, take a look at your auto campaign, your broad campaign. What are some of the keyword and what are some of the ASIN that is converting and it's also generating sales from the auto campaign or the broad campaign? You want to start turning some of those keywords into a separate campaign, so you have more control over the keyword that's currently working. And then you want to obviously also negate some of the keywords we're targeting that's no longer working, which is performance on the monthly basis. And on a weekly basis, this is some of the list of the things that you should be doing on a weekly basis. You want to monitor your bid to see if you're bidding too high. If your cost per click is really high, like a lot higher than your bid, then that's something you want to adjust as well. And also on a weekly basis, like I mentioned, monitor your campaign budget to gradually increase for good performance. You can do increase of $3 to $5 on a weekly basis for the budget. And you also want to monitor the ACoS for the campaign. If you have any campaign that's just not performing, especially if you have campaign with ACoS of 60% or higher, that's where you want to monitor those campaigns and see what's going on. Is it additional negation or additional optimization or bid change that you want to do in the campaign to really improve the ACoS? And then also monitor your spend to see if there's any keyword that you're spending more than $15 but doesn't generate any sales. That could be a red flag. You're spending a lot of money on the particular keyword but doesn't generate sales. Or if you have any keyword that have more than 15 clicks but no sales, that's another one you want to look at. And you want to look at last 30 days and also lifetime too when you're looking at some of those data. So, and then obviously you want to monitor the campaign on a daily basis and notice any like sudden spike in the campaign as well. And also monitor the good performing targeting. For the good performing targeting, you can consider increasing the bid once a week by like 10%. That's one of the best practice that I would recommend for you to do on a weekly basis. And then on a weekly basis, you also want to do a competitor analysis to find additional weak competitor ASIN. What I mean by weak competitor ASIN is any ASIN that have low rating or no reviews or price higher than yours, where their listing is not FBA, their listing is fulfilled by merchant. Those are the few things that you might have a leg up over your competitors, and you can try to target them when you're doing advertising as well. And you can also get some of the competitors' target keyword by looking out using some of the tools that I shared earlier with Helium 10 and data type. You can identify some of additional keywords to see if there's additional gap you can test in your advertising. And you can also check to see if your competitor is running any kind of coupons, discount, or promotion as well. So, and beside those, there's some additional optimization you also want to do on an ongoing basis. On the ongoing basis, once a week minimum, you want to pause any of the unperforming keywords and add new keywords based on like some of the keyword harvesting you're doing. And you also want to do negations on a weekly basis to identify irrelevant terms that's showing up in your search term report and add them as a negative. You can do negative exact or negative phrase as well. Then you also want to do bid adjustment. They increase a bid on the high converting one and reduce the bid for the keyword that is not working as well. Then you can also do placement adjustment on a weekly basis, adjust the bid based on the placement performance. And you can see the top of search, or usually the placement that Amazon have is top of search, product page, or rest of the search. Those are the three placement. You can also do a placement adjustment based on the placement report. Then obviously you also want to do ongoing keyword research, comparator ASIN research, and then you want to check your keyword using a keyword index checker to check if you are getting index and rank for the keyword that you're promoting or running ads on. So those are some of the different things that you want to do on a regular basis. And then also ideally you want to have a account weekly dashboard that you update yourself, so you can keep an eye on how the campaign is progressing on the weekly basis and also on the monthly basis as well. So that's some of the major technique. And there's some additional strategy you can also do, especially when you're launching, is trying to get reviews and also target some additional keywords as well that I mentioned earlier. Here is just a quick case study of a client that we work with. Before they start working with us, they were having a lot of challenges with low visibility with their Amazon search result. They struggled to get ranked for the keywords. Their sales was really inconsistent with monthly revenue being very fluctuating. And their ACoS was also really high at over 60% before we took over their account. So what our team does is we did the whole SEO optimization, listing optimization, and restarted their advertising strategy and also setting up the review tool for them. So requesting a review on their account's behalf. So the result we're able to get for this particular client is we were able to take them from $2,000 a month in revenue to $19,000 last year in December. We were able to really increase their revenue through all the different effort that we did on their Amazon listing. And their listing is also the one I showed earlier. So that's just a quick case study of like different things that by doing some of the best practices, you can really see some significant results on Amazon. And here, just some testimonial of a different client that we have been working with in the past, talking about sharing some of their experience using our services. And last but not least, I'll just open up for Q&A. Any questions?
Hi, Jason. How many SKUs or ASINs does a company that you work with on your books or have? Is it just a few or can it be hundreds?
It depends. We have a client that only have one SKU and we have a client that have like 50 or 100 SKU. So it depends. Like the case study I shared earlier, the Carter's Card Game, they are a single SKU company. They only have one product. The card game is the only product they have. But then we also have clients that have like 20, 30, 40 SKU as well. Obviously, for a single SKU product company, it's a little bit harder to scale because you only have one product. So if that product doesn't work very well, you don't have a second one to try. So the single SKU company is definitely harder to scale compared to the company that have a lot more product.
And where are you mainly focused in the US?
Yes, most of our clients, we do Amazon US and Amazon Canada at this time. Yes.
And how does kind of customer service work when products are kind of returned? Does Amazon deal with that if it's FBA or is that?
Yeah, most of the times I would say 80, 90% of the time, Amazon does deal with it when it's come to fulfillment. For example, the customer doesn't receive the product, and they can just call or send a message in the Amazon app, and Amazon support will take care of it as long as you use Fulfilled by Amazon. So
Is that predominantly the amount of clients that they use the SBA rather than direct?
99% of the time, we recommend to use FBA. The reason is if you use FBA, people can get the product a lot faster, and it's also a lot easier to get returns. It actually help you to double the conversion rate on Amazon by using FBA and versus not using FBA. So unless you have a bulky product like a kid's furniture, that's the only time I wouldn't recommend to use FBA. But 99% of the times, I would recommend to use FBA if you want to see success on Amazon.
Yeah, thanks for your time and for the webinar. It's been fantastic.
You've been listening to Toy Business Unboxed, hosted by Jason Shea. Thank you for joining us in exploring the fascinating world of toys and the ingenuity behind them. To stay updated with the latest episodes and continue your journey into the toy business, remember to subscribe and follow us. If you found today's episode insightful, please leave a rating and review and share this podcast with others who share your passion for toys. Until next time, stay curious and keep innovating.